Welcome to The Real World. My name is Cameron, joined by Carson.
Carson's here.
We just got back from watching A Quiet Place Day 1.
That's right.
Here's our review. Thank you so much for joining us here on The Real World. We are so happy you're here. If you're a movie fan, you're in the right place.
That's right.
Because we're all about movies. We got the collection over here. We just got out of the theater. You can check out our initial reaction on the channel right now. But now we're going to give you a full review of A Quiet Place Day 1. This is, of course, the next film in the Quiet Place saga.
Trilogy.
I don't know what it's
Trilogy at this point.
It's now a trilogy.
Right.
I'm pretty sure John Krasinski has said he has plans for Quiet Place Part 3, which will continue the story.
Sure.
This one goes back. That's why it's called Day 1.
That's right. It's a prequel.
This is the first day that the
Which means that, thankfully,
invasion
you don't have
happened.
to have seen Parts 1 or 2 to enjoy this film. It's completely standalone.
Exactly.
It's basically a spin-off.
Yeah.
No returning characters, no returning plot threads.
You're wrong.
Oh boy.
Jaimon Hunsu, baby.
That's true.
Jaimon Hunsu's in Part 2.
That's true. I forgot that he was in Part 2.
Yeah, he's great in that. So there's a little connection, but yeah, you don't at all have to have seen any of the other Quiet Place movies to enjoy this.
Not whatsoever.
It's, like I said, a prequel taking place on the first day of the alien invasion.
In New York City.
In New York City, so a new setting as well, which is great.
not a rural setting.
Yes.
Like Parts 1 and 2.
Right.
Yeah, this is a densely populated, loud area. I love the movie starts with a text that says New York City releases a average of 90 decibels every day, which is as loud as a human scream.
Right.
That was a cool little statistic.
It was.
That kind of sets the mood for the movie.
Yeah.
But I loved it, honestly. I mean, my initial reaction to it was very positive.
Yeah.
I recommend it
Definitely.
to anyone looking for a movie to go see in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Great amount of tension and story. Not too intense and too horrific and too too crafted around jump scares.
Right.
But tells an actual story.
Yes.
And is about these characters.
Yep.
And I think it's a smarter movie than people will give it credit for.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's very well written. Michael Sarnowski, who wrote and directed Pig.
That's right.
One of our favorite Nick Cage films of all time.
Absolutely. Fantastic film.
Man.
This movie is very well directed. Very visual.
Oh, yeah. It's all visual storytelling, very little dialogue. It's really fantastic. There's some really touching moments.
Sure, yeah.
Like you said, it's very story and character-centric.
Absolutely.
The creatures and the horror, if you will, is more the setting.
Sure.
That's not the story. Even though we do learn more about the lore and the aliens. We can talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
I want to get into that a little bit. But keeping it spoiler-free here initially, very well-made film.
Yeah, very good.
Technically, the performances are fantastic. Give Lupita another Oscar. I mean, because really, I mean, and Joseph Quinn. I mean, this guy's kind of come out of nowhere after Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And now he's got this. He's got Fantastic Four coming up.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what he does with Johnny Storm, because this is nothing like Johnny Storm.
No, this is like the opposite.
Almost pure opposite of that character.
It's great, though. Great performances. A great, relationship that's built there.
For sure.
The music is great.
Sure.
The edit is very tight. It's under 2 hours, 99 minutes.
So nice.
And it flies by, but it takes its time too. It has a lot of
sleek,
intimate moments that are slow and kind of but it never feels too slow. It's just paced very well.
90 minutes is the perfect length for a movie. It really is. Yeah. We've talked about this. Every movie has 3 acts.
Right.
The 3-act structure.
Right.
30 minutes per act is plenty.
There you go.
Tell your full story in 90 minutes. It's literally like designed. Movies are designed to be that way.
Right.
And now we're just getting two and a half.
Unless you want an hour, and you want an hour for each act. You do 3 hours.
Yeah,
Depends on how epic the story is.
Yeah, of course.
Depends on what you want to do with it.
Sure.
Looking forward to Horizon, which is also out this weekend. 3-hour-long movie.
3-hour-long movie. That's only on part 1.
That's right.
Can't wait for part 2.
So it'll end up being 2 hours per act after part 2's out. But anyways, Quiet Place, Day 1. Check it out. We're going to jump into spoilers now. All right, so we got to talk about some spoilers here. First of all,
let me just say,
break down the story
that the critical response to this movie is going to be really interesting to see. I have a feeling people are going to hate it. I really do.
You don't think people are going to get it?
I don't think people are going to understand that this is a story
Yeah.
about these characters and
What they're going through in their lives.
it's not about logic. It's not
Right,
about these
Although,
monsters. It's not about this invasion.
If you really think about the story, things don't. I guess if you want to get down to it, it's not logical to do what these characters do, but they have a very good motivation for doing what they're doing.
Well, absolutely, because it's all about the story.
It's all about.
It's all about these characters and their personal
Personal
resolutions,
journey.
their personal journears.
Yep, they each have an arc.
Yeah, and they're great,
You
and they
know?
work so well together. These
They
characters
do.
both kind of mirror the creatures. They're both like what's his name? James? Eric?
Yeah.
Eric, I can't remember any of these characters' names. Joseph Quinn, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Eric is afraid of the water, and the creatures can't swim.
Right.
And Lupita's character, I don't remember her name. Sam?
Mm-hmm.
She like doesn't like noise. She doesn't like being around like crowded areas, and
She's very much a loner.
Yeah, she's a very like loner, which is kind of again similar to the alien. So they kind of mirror that in the same way. And it's also important that there's a cat in the movie
Sure.
because cats naturally are quiet,
Right.
alone.
Yeah.
You know,
Hate water.
kind of aloof, hate water. So yeah, water's a big part of this movie.
Yeah.
But really, it's about life.
Yeah. Living life. You know, the lead character is a cancer patient living in hospice. Wants to go into the city and get some pizza. We don't really get why she's so obsessed with pizza, but we learn later.
Yeah, it's
why.
funny because it's played off as a joke at first.
Right.
That's kind of like just a cute little
Right.
thing between her and
Yeah, the Alex Wolff
the
character.
nurse,
who's, Ruben.
Alex Wolff. Ruben.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a great character.
He was.
He
was
probably
great.
gets the most speaking lines in the whole film.
I think so, and you kind of think it's going to be his movie.
Sure.
Kind of. In a
Sure.
way. Him and Lupita have this back
He's
and forth.
definitely the most selfless character.
Yeah,
Because
I would
he's
say
a
so.
nurse.
Yeah, he's very much
taking
about
care of all
taking
these
care of people.
hospice
Mhm.
patients.
Mhm.
He's taking them to this epic puppet show,
Yeah,
which
right.
is
The
maybe
marionette
the
puppet
coolest
show, yeah.
marionette puppet show I've
Yeah,
ever seen.
It's great.
Legitimately awesome puppet show.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get a great introduction to him and to Sam and their relationship. They're
Right.
kind of
They kind of butt heads a lot.
butt heads.
Yeah.
She's not really friends with him,
Right.
But he's
trying to be
friendly
friends to her, yeah.
Like I said, he's kind of the most noble character.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And he's off pretty quick.
He is. He is. The
Unexpectedly.
epic generator scene.
Yeah. Great sequence.
They lose power.
Yeah.
The generator kicks on.
Right after the attack, which let's talk about that initial attack, because this is kind of what the trailers have sold the movie on. And people are probably going to want to know, does that deliver? And I think it definitely does.
I think so.
But here's the thing. It's not an epic thing. It's not you're going all across New York City and seeing all these different attacks.
It's a lot more...
all from the character's
Right.
perspective.
It's a lot more like Cloverfield.
Kind of, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not
I got a lot
found
of
footage, but
Cloverfield
it's all very
vibes.
intimate,
Very personal.
with the character
Yeah,
the whole way
yeah.
through. So I thought that was very well done. The action in it is spectacular. The effects are seamless.
Small budget.
Small budget of only $67 million. So this proves studios
That's
out there,
incredible.
studio executives. Guess what?
$67 million?
Guess what? You don't have to even spend $100 million on your movie to make it look great.
$67 million
$67 million
for this movie.
Yeah,
That's shocking.
utterly shocking.
I mean, everyone always compares every budget to the Marvels because it's
200
like
million, yeah.
hilarious that
Right.
that movie cost $200 million.
Right.
But
Well, even movies.
I get it. I mean, this is a very small cast. It's maybe 4 speaking parts,
Right.
4 or 5 speaking parts in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But very incredible. I mean, again, the visual storytelling is just superb.
Yeah.
The music is very well utilized.
Mhm.
I love that the story is about her reconnecting to her dad,
Yes.
reconnecting to what makes life precious to her. Because she's felt like she's been living a long death her whole life.
Right. She's not living.
No.
She just feels like she's dying.
surviving.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is a great Wall-E quote we've got there. I don't want to survive, I want to live. Which is really what this whole movie is.
Yeah. It's true.
There's a couple. I get a couple Pixar vibes from this. I know that's going to sound a little strange, but there's some
see it.
like soul
I can see it.
in there.
It's
You know?
like a duo.
It's kind of there's a duo. There's usually a
buddy pair.
Pixar
you know?
pair.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just fantastic. I thought that the pizza motif, that it was played off as a joke at first and was kind of cute,
and then
became more emotional.
At the end, that scene is one of the most emotional scenes of the whole movie.
It is. It really is.
When he brings her the pizza and writes Patsy's on it. That was another great moment when she sees Patsy's as burned down. I mean, there's so many moments that are impactful.
So yeah, just
because of what's set up earlier, because of the journey we've gone on, and then when we come to the end, it's just the payoff is so great in this film. Again, it's the writing. It's the writing and the direction that just really blew me away. So I'm super glad that Krasinski handed the keys off. You know, I mean that takes a lot. It's kind of crazy to think about. It's funny, Michael Bay's name comes up at the end of the credits. And you're like, oh, it's produced by Michael Bay?
Yeah.
And to think about how great those Transformers movies could have been if he had just handed the keys over. I mean, we eventually found out with Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Like, this could be a great franchise if he just handed the keys off. So it's very wise and discerning of Krasinski to be like, take it. Take it, buddy. Run with it.
For sure.
And he gets a story by credit, so I don't know how much involvement he had with the story.
I mean, my assumption is that this is his premise and his world that you're in, so he gets a story by credit in the same way that Lucas would.
But he didn't create the world. Because the characters created by credit goes to Brian Woods and Scott Beck, who wrote the original Quiet Place movie.
Oh, okay, right.
So I think Krasinski might have had a little bit more to do with this one than we think. But again, he doesn't get a screenplay credit. So maybe he just helped him develop the story or the characters maybe or something like that. But he's very passionate about this world. I just watched all the bonus features. And Krasinski has this all mapped out. He's really passionate about this world and these characters and the story. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Now let me just say that I'm coming at this from a very different angle than you are.
Sure, yeah. You weren't as big of a fan as the first two.
You're a huge fan of Cloverfield not Cloverfield. I'm a fan of Cloverfield.
Right.
You are too, but this is a lot like that.
Right.
You're a huge fan of Quiet Place Part 1 and 2.
Yes.
And I'm not.
Sure.
I just don't connect with Krasinski's first two movies. Did he direct the second one?
He did. He's only in one scene. He only acted in one scene, but he directed.
That's right. Those movies to me are just... I have a plethora of problems with them, but they're so on the nose and they're so blunt with, I think, what they're trying to say.
Emily Blunt, maybe?
Emily Blunt, literally blunt. And there's not much underneath what's going on.
Okay.
Everything is very surface level.
Okay.
This, to me, is like the opposite of that. Gotcha. This is like the whole movie is... You have to really read into what everyone's doing. You have to really pay attention and understand.
Especially because there's no dialogue.
Yeah, exactly.
There's very little dialogue in this movie.
Right. But it's all about that subtext. It's all about what these things mean to this character.
Right.
It's about what going to the jazz club or...
Pizza.
It's about what writing the pizzeria name on the box means to these characters.
Yeah, sure.
It's not about the mechanics of the world.
Right.
It's not about how would you survive in this environment. It's about these characters in this story.
Yeah, they don't really, like you were saying earlier, don't make logical decisions of what someone would do if they were trying to survive.
No, because these people aren't trying to survive.
Right, exactly.
They're really both ready to die.
Yeah, exactly.
And they just want to enjoy life for the fleeting moments that they get. Yeah. And the arc is that you should live life. You should be able to live life, even if it's short.
Yeah,
you should still live it to the fullest, and that's really cool.
It is. Interesting thing I'm reading about the behind the scenes here. Lupita Nyong'o asked if they could change the animal from a cat to a dog because she had a fear of cats.
That's right. I just watched her episode of Hot Ones. And
really? Does she talk about that? Okay, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, that was great.
That's really interesting. So we kind of have an added layer of Lupita Nyong'o overcoming fear.
Right, sure, personally.
So, really interesting. But, yeah, look, this is a very well-made film. I think the first two movies are very well-made as well. They all deal with this idea of fear. Are you going to let fear control you?
Sure.
Or not? Are you going to live in fear or not? So they're very impactful films. I think, this one... maybe does do it better. I don't know. I've got to rewatch it, but it's up there with the first two for me. I think they're all.
I mean, I've seen the first one many times. Mm-hmm. I've seen the second one, I think, twice.
Okay.
Comparatively, this just gave me such a better experience watching it.
Okay.
Nothing. It didn't feel like I was being talked down to. It didn't feel like anything was.
It's almost the opposite.
It didn't feel like anything was obvious.
You kind of have to get on its level.
Yeah.
You know?
You have to read into it. You have to pay attention to it and get invested in it to enjoy it.
Definitely.
Which is really what every movie should do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Any movie that talks down to the audience is always worse off for it.
You know, another thing that's important about this that we should discuss, that we discussed before going into this movie, is the theater experience.
Absolutely. I told you just before it started, we sat down to watch. I said, this will determine whether or not theaters can work for movies.
Yeah, it's true. Because theater etiquette was kind of lost over COVID.
Sure.
Because people kind of stopped going to theaters, watched a lot of movies at home.
And we got, like, Avengers Endgame, which basically said, theater etiquette, who cares? Everybody cheer and scream the whole time.
Well,
and
I think
things like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
I think that's a different situation. I feel like Avengers Endgame is made for that kind of reaction.
Right, but I'm saying that it made theaters no longer a place to quietly enjoy a film, or to be able to think about a thing while you're watching it.
Yeah, maybe. I still feel like that film, they don't want you to do that. They want you to react.
Sure, that's what I mean.
Right.
We got a lot of movies like that, and then
we got a lot of other movies like that too.
Right. That was kind of, I think, the general consensus of why you go to a theater.
But I think here's what was great was that our audience was great. Our audience was
great, I think, because Lupita politely asked us to be quiet.
I was just about to say that. Before the movie begins, Lupita Nyong'o comes on screen and says, "Please be quiet." I mean, literally, that's what she says. She asks you to please be quiet during this movie. Yeah. And it worked. Great. I mean, it worked. Our theater was quiet. Yeah.
And we got like a laugh, and we got like a...
Again, that's how people respond to something.
A little kid got scared at something, and his friends laughed at him.
That's fine. That's totally normal. That's totally great.
Now, what I'm not okay with...
That means that they're into it.
Yeah,
sure. To me, that means they're into the movie. Sure. And if you're reacting in some way.
Yeah. What I'm not okay with is people going, why did they just do that? What does that even mean? What is it?
Pulling out the cell phone.
Asking questions.
Pulling out the cell phone.
Pulling out the cell phone. You don't need to audibly ask a question in a movie theater because no one will answer you.
No one will answer you. And the movie should answer.
The movie will answer. The movie will answer your own questions. Right. It'll answer itself.
You just watch.
If you only pay attention. It doesn't tell you everything instantly.
Yeah, it's so good. So that was great. That was a great experience. A very positive experience.
It was a good
theater experience. Is not dead. It's still here. It's alive and well. You know?
Not yet.
I mean, it's still going strong. And the theater is the best way to watch this movie because it's so immersive. You can't get this at home. I don't care how good your sound system is.
Sure.
Your screen is not this big, and your sound system is not this good. So this is the best way to watch it. 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Although I think there are some films that warrant a watch at home.
Oh,
there are,
of course.
Yeah,
I mean, rewatching movies is what I'm all about.
Absolutely.
Experiencing movies at home.
I mean, some of my favorite experiences watching movies has been by myself in a room.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So, that's a great way to watch films,
definitely.
too.
There are some movies that are tailor-made for that.
Right.
But A Quiet Place Day One isn't necessarily one of those movies.
I would agree.
It's a great because I think the scale of the setting is so large.
Right.
It kind of warrants a grand experience.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a much bigger movie than the first two, but yet it doesn't lose sight of the intimate, character-driven story. And that's what's great about it. It's spectacle, it's suspense, but it's first of all story and characters that are meaningful. You know, I mean, I walk away from this movie. It's one I'm going to be thinking about a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an impactful one. So, highly recommend it. If you got to see it, let us know in the comments what you thought of it. We're both on Letterboxd, so those links will be down below. You can follow us there on Letterboxd, get everything we're watching in theaters and at home. This was a fun discussion. So
for sure,
thanks for joining me. And
yes, thanks for having me.
We will talk to you guys next time. Make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified of all our videos, and we'll see you next time right here on The Real World.
Can't wait for A Quiet Place Day 2.